Except, let me put this over here. Okay, good. Did a lot. Yep, everything looks good. Okay, we're gonna go. Welcome, welcome, welcome to National Podcast Post Month Preparedness, because NaPod Pomo kicks off on November 1st, and we are not there, but we are preparing for it. And in that vein of being prepared, I am bringing you something that, folks, if you've been sitting on the sidelines and you think, I don't know if I can do that National Podcast Post Month thing, I don't know if I can podcast every single day in the month of November, although I kind of like Twitter Spaces and I hang out here a lot. Well, I've got the interview for you, my friends. I would like to welcome Gregarious from Zealous.app on here on Twitter, because he has something that is going to, it's like waving a magic wand at making all of our dreams come true. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. It's great to chat here after we had a quick chat last Friday. I guess it's only been a week, but it feels like forever.
Right. Well, and so much has happened because you're like hot off the press because you just had your town hall. So can you, and we'll talk more about it later, but can you just give a quick, brief as to this concepting of the town hall, that this Zealous doing town halls, this isn't the first one or the last one, or maybe it's the first one, but it won't be the last one.
Absolutely, yeah. So I think we certainly embrace the idea of building in public to the extent that that's viable, and so Twitter Space is just a wonderful platform for being able to talk to our users, make sure that they can have a chance to hear what's new, and I think more importantly is for us to be able to provide a little context about why the things we're making and how they fit into like a workflow or how they may benefit you, right? So we're starting this new process of having our spaces on a Friday where we're basically pulling together, whatever we ship in that week, give you a little chat about what's coming, and then take your questions and try to answer them. Oh, did we lose you?
Hey there. So last week, the thing that really knocked my socks off, that got me jazzed beyond all belief, where I can't stop talking about this, and I'm so enthusiastic about this, is this concepting of a Twitter space simply, easily, very practically becoming a podcast. And we all know that in order to have a podcast, you need an RSS feed. And right now, there are ways to do that. You can download your Twitter space either directly from Twitter, which is a big pain, or you can use a third party tool like Headliner or even Zealous or Flogen or any number of other tools, right? Because there's a lot of ways to do things. However, that is cumbersome and time consuming. Yet we know that the content that we're creating on the blockchain is, I mean, on the blockchain, on Twitter, is well worth being heard again. And we know folks are turning these things into podcasts. So when I heard what Zealous was doing, I was like, somebody stop me, shut up and take my money. Like how quickly can I do this? And you were very generous to jump on a quick Zoom with me and kind of walk me through the process. And the process is so darn simple. I'm just amazed that no one else has come up with it, but I'm really thrilled that you all have. Talk to us and talk to me about the concepting, the process, and really what the practical application for us as audio creators.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think philosophically, um, I think we're all creating amazing content, obviously designed to service, enrich, and educate our audience. And one of the problems that we have ultimately is that, a couple of problems, right? One is that I think, live content is wonderful. It provides an opportunity to engage and interact in real time, but it also leaves or puts at a disadvantage a significant portion of your followers, right? Or in your audience, it's in your membership. And so I think like one of the problems that we're trying to solve with Zealous is like, how do you time shift some of this conversation so it's more readily available? Right now, a lot of folks would say, well, hey, but Twitter already has this. Like, I can listen to recordings and I can listen to them forever. Well, the problem with the algorithmic driven sort of timelines is that you're still fighting for attention amongst millions of other things still, right? And so even though you may be doing a great job putting great content out, if you don't get like a tremendous amount of engagement in real time, Twitter may not prioritize that to your followers, right? Unless they've got the bell on for you, you may miss it. And so what we look at as one of our missions at Zealous is how do we make your content as available as possible in all of the places that your audience and members and community might be. And one of the obvious places for that, right, of course, is the podcasting apps that people already like to use to listen to things. And so we made a very simple pivot, or not even pivot, but I just feature is very, very simple. All it does is we take all of the content that you put out, that you record as spaces. And basically, there's a feed available now, an RSS feed. So if you're not familiar, RSS is a simple XML format, but what it basically does is it broadcasts when there's new content. Your podcasting apps, most of them, except for Spotify, I don't know why, but allow you to import a show from an RSS feed instead. And so the RSS feed that we offer, it's not a podcast, right? I guess to distinguish, make the small distinction. For it to be a podcast in our mind, it would have to also be published and registered in the directories as a show, right? We are not currently doing that. We likely will help you do that as well in the future. But these are RSS feeds. And what they allow is anyone who says, hey, I love this content. Can I just listen to it in my own podcasting app? And then maybe I'll reach out or interact with it, when it feels appropriate. They can basically go to your Zealous profile, copy a quick link, and basically automatically start listening to your content and get updates on it in the podcasting app of their choice.
So for me, when I see this, when I see RSS feed, that means that I can take that and I can submit it if I want to. And
Yes.
it puts it in my hands as the creator. And as you mentioned, it also allows listeners to have it more time shifted and on demand, which is a really beautiful thing about podcasting, is that you can create the show whenever the heck you want as a creator, but I as a listener get to decide when I want to listen to it. I could binge listen to several episodes all at once. I could listen to them as soon as they are released. And if you're going live, I can do that as well. So there's any number of ways, but it is my time shifted and my opportunity to do it. You're just releasing your shows as you release them. So I kind of look at what Zealous is offering with the RSS feed as if I, as a creator, don't want to go through the rigmarole of a traditional podcast because I've been doing podcasting for 17 years. I know the rigmarole. It's a lot of work and it's a lot of steps. To me, for a Twitter space to become a podcast, if Zealous is the bridge or the conduit or the pipeline to make that happen because of the RSS feed, I can choose to take that RSS feed and submit it to Apple Podcasts, submit it to Spotify, submit it to all those places if I want to. I
Yes.
like I like the fact that you all are not automatically doing that. I'm not a fan of any company that automatically does it without me saying, "Yes, I want you to do that," because it could be that I want to take what you all are doing and I want to add it to my website. And maybe I want to use my WordPress website, but I'm
Mhm.
just downloading it from you instead of going through Twitter because that's crazy.
Yep.
And I'm doing that and making it easy, and then I'm going through the steps that I want to go through. So the fact that you don't automatically do it to me is a beautiful thing. I can see where some folks might want you to do it because maybe they're like, I don't want to create an Apple Connect account and I don't know how to submit it to Spotify. So
Right.
I get where the simplification can happen, but I like that if it's not available now and when you do it in the future, it'll be something you opt into, not something you opt out of.
Absolutely. And even with the RSS feeds themselves, we will likely have a control around it soon enough so that you can, if you don't want us to even have that feed available, we'll let you turn it off.
Right. So control, and that makes a big difference. Now,
Mhm.
one of the things
It's
that you
not
walked
ours,
me
right?
through,
So it's not ours to
right.
to do it too.
But you've built the bridge. And to me,
Yeah.
that's amazing. Now, how we use the bridge is entirely up to us. And that's what you've said. You're like, here's a bridge. If you want to blow up the bridge, you can. If you want to use the bridge, you can. How you use it is up to you, but here's the bridge. So the thing that you showed me when we walked through this, I know we're doing audio, folks, but I want you to go to Zealous and claim your account. I mean, just you just log in with your Twitter handle. It's not any heavy lifting at all. It was like one click and it was like, here you are. And I was like, oh boy, howdy, that was easy. So one of the things I noticed that when I immediately clicked on was that it wasn't just the spaces that I have recorded. It was also spaces that I have spoken in that were recorded. And
Yep.
so I know for some folks that can be like, well, I spoke in that space, but I don't really want that to be on my RSS feed if I'm going to use this as my podcast RSS feed. And one of the things you showed me very quickly and very easily was that I can create channels and I can move or copy episodes of particular types into a channel. And then that new channel that I just created has its RSS feed. So in my case, for those of you that follow me, every Wednesday at 11 a.m. Eastern, I do a show called Web3 101. I've been doing that, I don't know, months and months and months. So there's weeks and weeks and weeks of shows. And those shows were mixed in with everything else I've ever been in, either as someone who hosted it or someone who spoke in it in a space. So you showed me how easy it was to just, check the boxes and say copy it to this new channel I created. I went to the Web3 101 channel, like voila, everything was there. When I looked up to the right side corner, there was my RSS feed that I could copy and I could use however I wanted to. And that simplicity and that UX of just so darn simple was something that I just want to give you and your team kudos on, because a lot of times things like this are overly complex and scary. And it was very easy.
Oh, thanks. Well, we certainly appreciate that. And I think, did I even show you the other feature for the filtering? Um, so yeah, there's another feature in there that you can set up at the channel level, a source filter. And so what you can tell it is that if it contains a keyword in the title of the space, to automatically put it in one of those channels.
So I don't have to go each time and
No, you don't
move it
have
or copy it.
you just have to do it historically for now, right? So for the older ones you do, but you can set up the filter and then move them automatically.
And from that point forward. See, amazing. I mean, it's so intuitive. It makes so much sense. I'm just such a fan. So let me tell you, for those who are National Podcast Post Month, they've already signed up, they're going to do it, or they're sitting on the sidelines. I think if you're someone who's comfortable in social audio, to me, this is the no-brainer to at least give this a try, because the simplicity and ease of use is mind-boggling, and yet it lowers the barrier to entry. Because one of the things I have a lot of times is, well, what app should I use and what equipment should I use, and well, what's an RSS feed and how do I find that? And so I'm constantly listing, well, if you're going to use mobile plus apps, there's Anchor, there's Podbean, there's Spreaker Studio, there's any number of things, and here's where you find your RSS feed. So it's a lot of that. And yet, if somebody is comfortable with Twitter Spaces and they're like, "Oh yeah, Twitter's totally my jam," guess what? Twitter Spaces is your jam. Could totally be that that's also your podcast feed for Napod Pomo. Now, if you want to use it for other things, you can, because you have multiple channels that you can create. Which is another thing I really appreciated. That I thought, well, if I'm going to create a channel for Web3 101, I also do the Walk Talk Challenge. Oh, and I also do this other thing. And you were like, yeah, just create your channels and then move everything and create now, as you said, those filters so that things automatically pop in there and not having to remember to go back and do it. And anyone who's subscribed to the RSS feed for those individual channels is going to get the latest and greatest as soon as it drops, which I think is
Yep,
such a powerful piece to it.
absolutely. That's the goal, right? Yeah, it's funny. I was demonstrating this or setting someone up and on Friday, and it took in 2 clicks we were done, and like all the sub series. I think great social audio and spaces creators and spaces hosts are often have like multiple recurring shows in a week, right? Much like you, and so we saw that early on. And we want to make sure, I think this is also part of that choice thing that you were describing, right? Because um, as a creator, maybe you have many interests, you have multiple topics that you talk about. Maybe some people like to do, a lot of folks will like sometimes they review products, but then they also talk about the news, right? Well, previously, you never really had the choice of only getting the news, right? You sort of had to listen to everything. And so we made it dead simple to sort of quickly say, great, I put out these streams of content. If you like all of it, you will choose from there. You can just subscribe to the top level feed. But if you don't like that, you can just pick the stuff that you want.
That's so powerful. So, all right, I'm going to tell you how I'm going to use this, because I am all about building in public, open experimentation, taking everybody on the journey with me. Will it blend? If I throw spaghetti against the wall, what's going to happen? What happens when I push this button? Ooh, what about that lever? I am all about that. So, when I saw this last week, I was like, oh, I already have an idea for Napod Pomo that I'm doing. And I thought, you know what? We're going to do two shows. One of them is going to be the original idea I had. And the second one is going to be putting this Twitter Spaces to Zealous to podcast to Web3 concept to the test. So I'm going to take the RSS feed for the show that I'm going to create specifically for Napod Pomo, which is going to be about Napod Pomo, the 15 years, uh, lessons learned, people, experiences, that kind of whole thing, as someone who founded this 30-day podcasting challenge all those years ago. But I'm going to take that RSS feed and I am going to run it through Ariel, which is a podcasting dApp on the Hive blockchain. where it will then go to my profile where it has the potential to earn for every single post. So will it blend? Will it work? I don't know. But I'm going to test it out. And if you want to follow the journey, then, or you want to model the journey, let's do it together.
Yeah, absolutely. And we look forward to that. And we'll be happy to amplify it as well because we haven't done it yet. I guess maybe we'll do it. We'll turn our podcast, our town halls into a podcast or something, right? like,
Yes.
um,
Yes.
so yeah, this is I haven't set up an actual podcast, or I guess technically we have ours, but my co-host set it up. So I haven't been through and done it in a while, but we will join you in this expedition.
I love it. This is fantastic. Okay, so earlier you're hot off the town hall, and I kind of referenced it a little bit, but you had a lot of news that you were dropping. And I guess folks who may or may not have heard of Zealous or may not know what you all are up to lately, share a little bit of that journey because you all Zealous didn't exist until what, this year, earlier this year.
Yeah, end of January is when we started building Zealous.
And you guys are like
Um,
a powerhouse now in all of the things that you're doing. You're nimble, but you're very progressive and you're moving things forward and you're seeing where the gaps are and you're like, we're going to fill that gap. Or you're seeing where there is an unknown resource that people don't know exists. And you're like, we're going to make people know about this and they can earn and own and be a part of this.
yeah, absolutely. I think, and well, we appreciate the encouragement. It is a breakneck pace, but I think part of being in startups means you have to go fast, and being a Web3 startup means you have to go extra fast. So, there's a lot of pent up sort of ideas for us, right? Because Peter and I, my co-founder, it was just two of us for the first 7 months of this year, 8 months. So all these ideas have been sitting there, and we just haven't had the bandwidth, and so it's just great to finally let all this stuff out. Um, as quickly as we possibly can. But yeah, today we did have two very important things that were announced. Two feature sets that were announced, and then also our pricing. The feature wise, though, we expanded our audiogram capabilities this week. So up until now, we had one theme. It was like a dark theme. And we also had just sort of the square output. But now we will help you natively generate for sizing for portrait sizing and landscape sizing. So, for example, if you wanted to go to YouTube with like a specific clip or soon the whole video, you can generate a wide format sort of HD sized video. Or 1080p video. But if you also want to like say just pull little quotes and turn them into like reels or shorts or TikTok content, you can actually do that automatically as well. Now natively from the UI, and we also launched our second theme. So we have like a light theme and a dark theme. We are working towards getting this more extensible and more full featured, but little by little every week, or we're trying to improve what we can. So that's the big changes I think on the sort of format and content side. Like I said, remember I said about earlier about like sort of just being sure things were available wherever your audience was. Well, RSS is one way, and then the other way for us is like getting that content into the platforms that you might already be using, right? So my goal would be, by early next year, that you sign up for Zealous and you basically have a podcast, you have a YouTube channel, you have a TikTok, you have Reels, Shorts, and everything else kind of automatically, and all you have to do is talk for 30 minutes a week. So that was one set of features. The other set of features, I think, is a little bit more towards the more like larger communities, or for creators who are sort of scaled up a bit. But the idea of we added a much more sophisticated like roles and permissioning. So this won't apply to your free accounts. If you have just a free account, you'll stay basically the only person who can administer it. But in sort of our creator plan and our community plan, you can now actually basically build a team and add other people into that ecosystem. You can add people to your team and have fine grain controls about who can do what. And you can add them today using their Twitter account. Just you put their Twitter handle in, or you put their wallet address in, and basically that's how you secure your system for now. We do have more things coming in this arena. Some of it will be out next week for sure. And then by the time we launch, we'll have a very big announcement as well in this arena.
This is the whole, but wait, there's more kind of a thing, right? Because a lot of times, we're already at the, tail end of October
Mhm.
leading into the holiday season. And so a lot of folks may say, this is, we're going to sit and soak in this, but you're like, no, 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 we got more stuff coming.
Yeah, no, we have a tremendous amount of stuff. I will say, we're very close to shipping it today. But I'm pretty sure it'll be out on Monday. But we will have automatic announcements as well now. So you'll be able to tweet. Zealous will automatically tweet out a link for you to your archive space and transcript. So you can set up stuff to start to build some of that promotion around the content that we're helping you create and promote.
Very intuitive, continuing with that. So, um, you talked a little bit during your town hall about the paid options because a
Yep.
service like yours, there's the free version and then there's the premium version. It's just like Twitter. You don't have to have Twitter Blue. I do because I find value in having that. But you can use Twitter for free all you want, or you can pay for the premium in order to get the additional feature set. So what you all are doing is no different than what any other company is doing. So, in what way does premium service separate the free account from that additional level of features?
Yeah, yeah, great question. So, um, I think what we're hoping for ultimately in charging is obviously to be here, to stay here for the long term so we can support everyone. But we do think that there are capabilities that we have that are offer some value. And so what we've done is we've created two plans. There's probably a third plan coming actually, but we'll talk about that later. But the two plans that we do have today are the creator plan and the community plan. And so what those plans ultimately allow you to access is a richer set of features. So what we've made free is your single source, like your Twitter account. You would just sign up for that. You just go author your Twitter account. And basically, you have the free plan. And that will automatically back up your Twitter Spaces. The interval at which we check is like once a day. So you get like faster checks when you go to like the paid plans. And then there's a bunch of features designed to help like enrich the experience for you, right? Um, so the creator plan and the community plan, they both like support like more automation. So for example, if you already have a podcast, you can like link your RSS feed and then also add like that as another channel automatically to the same place, right? So the goal being that if I like to think of this super bell concept, right? And so if you're a creator with multiple channels, could I bring all my content in one place, let people subscribe to me in one place, but still get access to all this content? So you'll be able to like link your YouTube account, you'll be able to link your RSS feed. In the future, we'll also like let you link your Zoom account if you do like webinars or recorded calls there, and additional sources, right? So like Discord, et cetera. So that automation is about bringing stuff in. And remember, what Zealous does is it then provides sort of the transcription, soon translation, and all this other workflow and automation for you. So so some folks have said like, hey, why would I want to bring my podcast into here? And from our point of view, if you don't want to, you certainly don't have to. But what we believe we do is something very unique to a conversation that doesn't happen elsewhere, right? This transcription layer, our transcription, by the way, is cheaper than everybody else in the industry. The ability to have like this editable online resource that actually helps you create a community that doesn't exist anywhere for any podcaster today, except if they go sign up for something very large and expensive like Circle or something like that. Um, and then I think additional things like security and gating and managing a team to help you like build and grow your things together, right? So I think all of these are pieces that we ultimately drive towards in sort of the paid versions. And the way that we work is if you've ever used like Zapier, or something like that, is sort of behind the scenes, you design a workflow that makes sense for your content. So maybe you want to take it, you want to export it to YouTube, you want to generate some shorts automatically, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And we use credits basically. The credits are a penny a piece. And so basically those credits get used to service the workflow that you need for your content. And I should mention the plan started. It'll be $25 a month for the creator plan, and it'll be $50 a month for the community plan.
I think folks go in. I just put something in the nest to get started turning your Twitter spaces into a podcast. First, claim your Zells account by connecting your Twitter account. It's that simple. And folks may be hearing this going, I don't even know, why I would want to pay for something like this. Let me tell you something, folks. Start mucking around, start playing around with the free version, and you will quickly see where the value can come from in the paid version. And I will also share this with you. This whole process that I'm experimenting with of taking my Twitter spaces, running it through Zealous so that I can get an RSS feed to then take that RSS feed and take it to the blockchain, that's micro monetization. What if all of my Twitter spaces could very seamlessly be turned into a podcast that is on Web3, on the blockchain, that can be monetized. Now, what could happen? I don't know. That's what the experiment's for. But micro monetization is very real. And last year, I took my traditional podcast and created one specifically for NaPod Pomo on Web3. And for the first time ever, I earned rewards for the podcast episodes for when all the previous 13 years, it's a passion project. I've never done it for any other reason than I think a 30-day podcasting challenge is a great way to fail fast, get good for new podcasters to feel like they can experiment in a safe community space, for seasoned veteran podcasters like myself to feel like I can experiment in a safe community space. Just because you've done something doesn't mean you're not wanting to try new things, but trying new things is is like risky, can be seen as risky. But if you're doing it in a challenge in a safe community space where everyone is taking some sort of a risk, trying something new, there is kind of a feeling of a safety net there. So, in that way, I tried taking my podcast to the blockchain for the first time, and I actually earned a reward for that. Was it guaranteed? No, but it was an experiment and it totally knocked my socks off, which is why I'm very high on turning all of these things into some sort of Web3 opportunity, whether you're tweeting, if you're doing microblogging, blogging, if you like YouTube stuff, if you like doing live streaming on Twitch, if you like photos on Instagram, if you like doing that kind of content, you can do that exact same type of content, but on the blockchain on decentralized apps, which is why they're called dApps. Same type of stuff, different destination, opportunity to micro monetize from your very first post on your very first day, which I can tell you does not exist in traditional Web 2 world. So the fact that Zealous has created a conduit to make that easier to start in a place that you're super comfortable with, like Twitter. I'm super comfortable here. Spaces, totally all about that. I do spaces all the time. I'm in groups of people who do spaces. I'm all about that. So if I can take this thing that I'm all about and run through Zealous and then turn that in turn, put that into Web3 where there's potential micro monetization, I'm going to try it. I invite you to try it with me. Will it work? Will it not? This is the experiment. That's what National Podcast Post Month is all about. Fail fast, get good. Boot camp, fast track your learning, whatever it is, we're going to figure it out. We're going to figure it out together.
Yeah, no, I appreciate the effort to sort of encourage more people to share their voice, to experiment. I mean, it's noisy out there, right? There's a lot of stuff. We're in a attention deficit world, right? But I do think, to the extent that you have a unique or interesting point of view, why are you robbing the world by not sharing it, right? And sort of working and learning how to do that. Interesting thing I would say is I think also just to clarify a little bit more on the pricing, we're not just software replacement. So I'll share an anecdote of how when I had my podcast, what I have to do to generate a reel or whatever it's called on YouTube, short. I don't remember. Right. But when I was hosting our podcast, I would record it in StreamYard. I would have to download the video. I would then take the video. I would upload it into Descript. Descript has built into it an audiogram tool. So I would then download it from Descript because the problem was that this format that they came out was square and it didn't fit inside of YouTube. So then I would have to go drop it into Premiere, right? And then to be able to render the right size video so that it would render properly inside of YouTube. And then I would have to upload it to YouTube, right? Now, let's just think about that. That would take me, like in my best, most efficient model, right? 15 to 20 minutes, right? For one clip, right? Now, if you start to scale that out, we're all busy, right? I'm sure all of us have a whole bunch of other things to do. I know I am, right? And I also know what my time is worth. That 15 minutes is worth a lot of money. And so we're not just saving the software fees, because obviously in that process, I'm using Premiere, I'm using Descript, I'm using StreamYard, right? We're short circuiting all the tools, but we're also short circuiting the time to do those things. And I think like one of the things that is the most challenging when you get started, I know all of the things I'm supposed to do, but even as a creator with my own podcast, I didn't do most of them because we just didn't have the time to do it. Right. And so a lot of the success to generate the success you're hoping for, one, it's a slog. You just have to do it for a long time without really the reward that you might be expecting. But most importantly, you have to do a whole bunch of work that you may not even be aware of, or that's really difficult to do. Right. And that's what I think is what we're really trying to unlock for people, is get more time on the parts that matter and let's get rid of all the nonsense.
Let's get rid of all the nonsense. Just focus in on that, folks, because it does seem really easy and it's a way to start. It is a way to start. And I feel like this is just such a great solution. I can't tell you how happy I am that you created this bridge. And I know that it's a work in progress and you all are constantly developing. So the bridge that we see now may not be the bridge we see in the future. And that's what's so wonderful about this is that the open development and the open building, we get to be along for the ride. We get to be along for the journey. We get to go, hey, there's like a monster over there. And you'd be like, whoa, we didn't know there was a monster over there. Thanks for letting us know. We're on this journey together to some extent. And there's a real beauty in that. You know, we think about the bell curve, right? Where the early adopters, and then there's the early majority, and then there's the majority, and then there's the laggards. This type of stuff that we're doing here now, that Zealous is doing, that Web3, Twitter Spaces, this kind of thing is still very early adopter. Is nowhere near early majority. And just because we've been doing it for a while, like Twitter Spaces started what in December or January, maybe I think I joined in February of 2021. So it's been to me, I've been like, yeah, it's been around forever. There are people that don't even know Twitter Spaces exists or that know it exists and have never even considered hosting a room or participating in one. So that curve is still, we're still very much at the beginning of that curve. And if you think about how steep that curve is, if for no other reason than you potentially being a guide for others, it's well worth it to know what this is, to have an understanding of it, even if you muck about and you're like, not for me. Totally cool that it's not for you, but at least you have an awareness and an understanding and knowledge. And if someone should approach you who are like, I'm thinking about doing Twitter spaces or I'm thinking about doing podcast or have you heard about Zealous? You've got a wealth of knowledge that they don't have based on your own experience. And I feel like that really ties well into my whole motto of learn, share, grow, which I got from Social Media Club when I was a Social Media Club chapter leader. Learn,
You know, I
share,
designed the
grow.
logo for a social media club, right?
You and I have so much in common in that stupidest thing. It's weird. Like we've never really got together and now we're like, oh, I know all these people.
Chris and Christy were very old friends of mine. I was actually staying at their house in San Francisco when I first moved there. And Chris, we were about to go to dinner, and Chris was like, "Hey, can you tell me like with the like some branding for social media club?" And so that was what we created like ages ago now.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. So the whole learn, share, grow, right? As we learn together, we share what we have learned because we're not going to learn the same things. We won't process it exactly the same way. And in that way, we can all grow together. And there is a real beauty in that. And being authentic and giving attribution and being transparent in those things. I know that was the origins of Social Media Club and that was the origins of social media, and it's gotten lost and muddied along the way. But I still hold true to those things. I think giving credit where credit's due is important. I think being transparent about these things, like I'm telling you what I'm going to do, I don't know if it's going to work. I'm going to try it. I'm not pretending that this I've got this whole thing on lock and it's going to be amazing. I'm telling you I'm going to test it. And I hope that you understand that if I do something that it doesn't work, that it's an experiment. And I think if we open ourselves up to experimentation, please know that whether the experiment is a fantastic failure or a wonderful win, it's the experiment, right? So if it fails, it isn't you who failed. It's an experiment. You go back to the drawing table, you go back to the lab, you go back and you try something different, or you decide that's not for you. But
Yep.
I invite you to consider National Podcast Post Month. I invite you to consider if you're a Twitter Spaces fan, or if you're wanting to become one, to try this experiment with us. Let's learn together. If you see a monster that I don't see, I want you to tell me there's a monster over there. Okay, thank you for letting me know. And we can figure, or hey, there's a smooth path over here. Oh, fantastic. I love smooth paths. So let's do this experiment together. Let's learn, let's share, let's grow. I am going to be using Zealous as part of my process. You can too, but if you're going to do something completely different, share that as well. There's room for everybody at the table.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, so where I'm going to close out. I know we've kept you long enough. I appreciate your time. Where can folks go to learn everything they need to learn? How can they stay connected because they don't want to miss a thing? And what upcoming things do you have that they need to know about?
Yeah, great question. So the most information about the Zealous itself is at zealous.app. That's our sort of company domain. But if you want to sign up today, you can head over to zealous.one, ONE, spell it out. That's where the actual application lives, and you can quickly auth in, and you'll basically be on your way. Um, the Mint is also on our public site, but I think the best way for updates is probably to follow us. We're Zealous app. You can see our little logo in the room. Feel free to click on that, give us a follow, and that will be a fast way to sort of get our updates. We do almost all of our first place that we post things is going to be on Twitter.
As it should be, breaking news and all such
Mm-hmm.
stuff. Well, thank you so much for joining me for this NAPOD Pomo special. I really appreciate you taking the time to share the amazing things that Zealous is doing and that the team is putting together, because it's an exciting time to be a podcaster, and being a social audio host goes hand in hand with that. And you all have built a beautiful bridge that we can use to connect those two worlds together. So thanks.
Thank you. I appreciate it so much. Great to meet you again and talk to Jen.
All right, y'all. So if you want to learn more about NAPOD go to napodpomo.org. You can use the hashtag NAPODPOMO. We're both on Web 2 and Web 3. And of course, if you would like to get connected with me, my DMs are open. And I am ePodcaster both on Web 2 and Web 3. Keeping it simple like that because I'm keeping it real. I hope that you all have